Hey, Chris. So you just finished your lead generation course.
Yes.
And did you enjoy that?
Yes, I did.
Good. Good.
I do have a question for you.
Okay.
The course spent a lot of time talking about contact database management. And I don't understand where that fits in. Also, Gary, I understand that's where Keller Williams was built.
Sure, absolutely. And it's still built that way today.
Okay. It seems like a really mundane task, but the book talks about it quite a bit.
Right.
Can you tell me more about that?
Sure, absolutely. Think of it this way, Chris. Sales is an activity. If you're going to build a sales profession, however, you're going to have to build it on contact management. A sales profession is contact management. And when we talk about contact management, we really have two broad issues we have to deal with. One is when you meet someone and you want to remember how to get in touch with them later, or you want to market to them consistently over time, how do you set that up? The other issue you're going to have to deal with is if that same individual also says in 3 months, I want either list or buy a home, how will you consistently know to stay in touch with them so that you're there with them when they need to make that decision? How do you do that naturally? Well, we call that contact management or database management, okay? Keller Williams was built on, actually, this box right here. I've dusted it off for this video, but I went back and pulled out the actual box I used in 1979. Now, today you have technology, and we'll talk about that in a second, but I'm going to encourage you that you start your lead generation program to build your career on a box. And as quickly as you understand the concepts and you understand what they do for you, then I'm going to say go for it. And whether that be in 30 days, 60, 90 days, or a year, I'm going to say then, once you understand what you're trying to achieve with the system, then go sit down and analyze the different technology options, programs that are available today that will help you do this a lot easier and a lot quicker. Because technology will do that. But one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is they jump into technology too quickly and they don't really understand what it's supposed to do for them. If you do understand that and you want to go ahead and go with technology, that's fine. But I'm going to encourage you to wait just a little while.
What I don't understand, Gary, is, well, I can understand the concept of a file system, but I don't understand how I'm supposed to use this on a day-to-day basis. That's what I'm struggling with.
All right. Well, can I just go to the box and open it and just talk to you about it for a second?
Sure.
Okay. So if, essentially, this is my business. I want you to think of it this way. When we hear about professional individuals outside of real estate, doctors, lawyers, and you hear about them selling their practice, what are they selling? Well, they have some equipment and all that, but ignoring all of that, what are they actually selling?
Well, I imagine their clients.
Right, their client database. Okay, what if they hadn't kept one? What if they hadn't nurtured it? What if that was just a loose bunch of names that people had done business with them over the years? Okay, that's going to be very different than an attorney or a doctor or a realtor, such as yourself, who has taken the time to actually build long-term relationships with people through what we call contact management and database management. So I want you to think of, at the end of the day, this is your business. This box, or again, later it's going to be in a computer, but this box for now represents your business. This is it. Okay. Now, the way that contact management works is real simple, and it's easier to demonstrate, in my opinion, with paper than with a computer, which is why we're doing that today. But here's what's going to happen. Now I'm going to actually teach it to you the same way I learned it, okay? I have a degree in real estate. I came out of college in '79, and this is the way they taught me to do it. This is the way I did it. First thing is, and actually for this class, or for this video, excuse me, I actually unstapled business cards and unglued them, so these are actual 1979 cards.
Wow, vintage.
Yeah, like you care, of course. But it was cool for me, these are vintage, they're a little discolored. These are actually the same cards right here that I used back in 1979.
So you've got cards that have letters.
Let's go through that. So here's what, let's start this manner. To get this system in place, I'm going to encourage you to have 2 different colored cards. And it doesn't matter, just 2 different color ones, okay? Then you're going to need cards that say A through Z, okay? Just as easy, A through Z.
Okay.
Okay. Then we're going to need cards that say January through December.
Okay.
And then we're going to need cards that say 1 through 31.
Okay.
Okay. Now, with these 5 elements, 2 different colored cards, A through Z, January through December, 1 through 31, we're ready to go.
Okay.
So here's what happens. You're out prospecting, marketing, lead generating, and you meet someone.
Okay.
And let's say that individual says, no, we're not interested in doing business today of any type, but in 6 months or a year, we might. That's a prospect.
Okay.
Okay? So what we do is we immediately, when we get back to the office, we get all the data in whatever form you want. If you carry these cards with you, you can just write them on the card. But you get back to your office, you're going to fill out 2 cards. We're going to make the yellow one our permanent record. Okay? So we're going to write down all the pertinent information about them: name, address, phone number, email, address, everything, and any other data that we need to know about them, birthdays and things like that. We're going to write all that down.
Okay.
And this is a permanent record.
Okay.
We're gonna alphabetize it by their last name. We're going to take it and we're going to put it right here, okay, in the A through Z.
Okay.
Turn around, but I'm going to stick it up right now.
Okay.
We're going to file it right there.
Okay.
Now, so if ever I need to know what their phone number is or address is or anything pertinent about them, where do I go?
You go to the yellow card.
There it is. Yeah, I know exactly where it is. I go to it, pull it out, and there's everything I need to know. It's always there.
And then I would imagine, as I learn more about that prospect, as I develop a relationship with him or her, I keep adding
Sure, goes to the permanent
yellow
card.
card.
Sure, goes to the yellow card.
Okay.
Yeah. The nice thing about technology is this card, and by the way, I want you to notice why my cards were so big, right? Because a lot of data and stuff that I put on them.
Yeah.
But a computer is just even easier and can handle a lot more information than even this little card. So depending upon how much you wanted to add over time, there's some software programs that do a wonderful job of just building and building on that. They give you a lot of space to do that. Okay.
Okay.
But the big cards really worked well for me getting started in my lead generation program.
Okay.
So we've created the permanent record. Now, the other card, the white card, is going to be my ongoing contact record with them. So I'm going to put their name, address, and phone number here, and probably email address there.
Okay.
And maybe the names of spouse, kids, or whatever, just so I have that there. And then I'm going to write the date today, and I'm going to say, met, had this discussion. They said that they would be needing to talk in 6 months to a year about, let's say, selling their home. I'll write that down.
Okay.
Okay. Now what do I do with this card? Here's what I do. I go through, and let's just pretend that today is January 1st. And 6 months then is going to be around June. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to put it probably in February or March, but probably February. I'm going to give it 30 days or 45 days or whatever. I'm just going to drop it behind that month.
Okay.
Okay? And we're done. Now what's going to happen is I'm now going to roll along January, February, March, April, okay? I'm going to roll along, and come February, the first thing I'm going to do at the beginning of the month is I'm going to go to my February card, and behind it I'm going to pull out all the cards sitting there.
Okay.
And hopefully we're going to have a big stack of cards.
Okay.
And as I go through them, I'm going to find their card, and it's going to say, they said, they might be doing something in 6 months. That would be June of this year.
Okay.
Notice it's in February. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it and I'm going to go, do I need to do anything with them this month?
Okay.
It's a reminder. We call that a tickler system, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's called tickling the files. So what I'm doing is it's going to pop out automatically, and I'm going to say, do I need to do something with that? If I do, then I do it. Okay. Call them, write a note, drive by and see them, whatever. I do whatever I think I need to do. If I look at it and I go, nah, you know what? It would be bugging them, or I actually ran into them or something, or somehow I have knowledge or an opinion that isn't it. What should I do? Well, I'll just put it in March.
Okay.
So I just bump it if I don't want to do anything with it. If I do something with it, then I keep it in my stack, and that's the group of cards I work this month.
Okay.
Okay?
So you only use that once a month?
What, the card filing system?
Yes.
No, here's what happens. Now that we've set the system in place, let's go one step further. Let's say, for instance, that I have another person that I meet, and I have my permanent record. I fill all that out. I file it under the permanent record. But this person needs to buy a home, or something needs to happen next week.
Okay.
Or I need to follow up again with them next week.
Okay.
Okay, what do I do with that? Well, I fill out the interim card.
Okay.
Okay. And I pop it under January, but notice I have 1 through 31 in here.
Ah.
And 1 through 31 is sitting behind January. So I now pop it behind January 8th.
Okay.
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 So what happens is that in the month that I'm in, let's say it's January, the month that I'm in, I actually have the 1 through 31 behind that.
Okay.
And I'm moving the cards through the month.
Ah, okay.
So I'm working the 1 through 31 all month long.
Okay.
Okay, just a simple little system. If I have an assistant, that individual's doing the same thing. If they know of things that need to happen or need to be done, they drop them in behind those days too.
Okay.
Okay, with a client or customer.
Okay.
Not tasks, just contacting or doing something with a customer.
Okay.
But if they know of something, you need to call the Jones next week and blah, 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 fine, they can move that card too.
Okay.
And they go in, they move it, and it pops up, and they go, oh, Jones, blah, 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 here I need to do.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So this is a great way to say, oh, we've sold them a home. The next thing we need to do is get them pre-qualify on Thursday. Well, let's say Thursday is the 5th. Bam, I put it behind the 5th. I take care of what I need to now, put it behind the 5th, it pops back up.
Okay. So you don't have a special section for customers, a special section for prospects, a special section for past customers.
No.
They're all treated the same as you work your way through.
Sure, it's just my customers.
Okay.
There's no reason, there really is. I actually tried that, and that didn't work well at all for me. They're my customers. Now, here's what happens. This system does two things for me.
Okay.
Number one, it helps me create a database that I then implement, let's say my 33-touch program or whatever, farming or
8x8?
Sure, 8x8. Any of the programs that you're implementing to market to people over a long period of time, it's the A through Z file. You pull it out, and that's what you market to. And now, let's go back to 79 and the way we did it then.
Okay.
You had Abel's labels, right? Abel's labels, is that what it was? Yeah, right. 3 up, I don't know how many deep, right?
Okay.
And so you typed, you took the permanent data, the address, and you typed it on the label, right?
Yep.
So each week or every 2 weeks or each month when you market it to your database, right, you actually went into your drawer, pulled out your file that had all these that had been added to a label, right? You put your label sheet into the Xerox, you put print, you printed out labels, you peeled them off, put them on the mailer and mailed it.
Okay.
Now that's 1979 technology, but that's what we did.
Okay. Now you've got mail merge.
That's what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, today, you mean with technology?
Yes.
Yeah, you have mail merge now.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing about a computer is when you put it in once, you can tell it, go to permanent record, I need to contact them next week.
Okay.
You can do all that at once. And then when you do your marketing programs, you can simply say, access this group of my customers or access all of it. So yeah, the mail merge programs in technology are, it's the foundation of building a professional career.
Now, I need to make sure I understand this, Gary.
Okay.
The 33 touches. When I'm doing the 33 touches, I work with my A through Z file.
Sure, that's right.
Okay.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So think about it. Every month you're doing two things with your file. One is you're marketing to your A to Z.
Okay.
Whether it be 33 touch or whatever. The other thing you're doing is you're actually working through the individual relationships, contacting them as they need to be based on their need.
Okay.
So it's doing two things for you.
Okay.
Let me tell you an interesting story. When I got out of college and started selling real estate, I had a great first month. I sold 5 houses my first month.
Wow.
Yes, thanks. But the problem is I didn't close after that fantastic month. I didn't close anything for 5 straight months, and literally spent all my savings. My closings went a long way because peanut butter and a Volkswagen didn't cost much to you know. And I went home at Christmas, and I was broke. And I remember coming in, and I was fairly discouraged at this point. The market had shifted dramatically interest rate-wise. Interest rates were going from 10 to over 20% during that period in '79. So it wasn't just some interesting things were happening. It wasn't that I wasn't working hard. I hadn't learned my scripts and dialogues as well as I should have, to be candid with you. I wasn't handling things exactly. They were falling through the cracks. So I go home at Christmas. I'm despondent. My mother, bless her heart, she goes, "You should get a part-time job at 7-Eleven." And I went, "Mother, you know, I didn't go to college to get a degree in marketing and real estate to work at 7-Eleven. I'm either going to make it in real estate or I'm going to get out, but I'm not going to do that." And my dad, who was a businessman, said, "Well, prove to me or show me you've been working. Show me what you've accomplished in the 6 months you've been in real estate." Well, what do you think I had to show him?
You'd have to show him your box.
I went out to the car and I brought in my black box and my calendar. And I opened it up and I said, "Dad, let me show what I've been doing." And I showed him, and I showed him my customers, and I showed him the leads that I had, and I showed him how I was managing it, and I showed him what I thought I had coming up.
Okay.
And my dad said, "I'll bet $500 on that box." And he loaned me $500. Actually, I don't think I ever paid him back. Bless his heart. So I hope he doesn't watch this video and come collecting interest. But he loaned me. He gave me $500, and he said, "I'll give you $500 on that box." And the funny thing, now here's the funny thing of the story though, is I actually barely needed the money, because what had happened was all of that work and all that managing the database paid off. And Christmas Day, the phone rang, and it was the agent who was covering my business over Christmas. I was in Houston for Christmas, and he was in Austin. He called and said, "Hey, do you remember Jack and Dorothy Saul from St. Louis?" "Yeah, I met them prospecting. Well, their home has sold, and they're here in Austin, in Angus Valley, staying with their daughter, and they called to say they just signed a contract, and they'd like to look at homes starting tomorrow morning."
Okay.
And what do you want me to do? I said, "I'm headed back." So, you know, actually Christmas night, the day of Christmas night, I actually drove back to Austin. And the next morning, I told him make the appointment. The next morning, I showed up at the appointment, and they actually bought a house that day.
Okay.
That they lived in forever. And the rest is history. I actually went on to be the runner-up for the Rookie of the Year that year.
Wow.
Because what happened in the next 6 months, it all just happened.
Wow.
And I believe it all happened, honestly, because of the fact that I had a strong lead generation program. I implemented exactly what we teach.
Okay.
And I was doing all the methods that I could do, not just one or two. I did even the ones I didn't like to do. I did them because this was a business, and I needed it to make money. I needed to generate an income from it. And I wasn't just losing the leads. I was putting them in an organized manner that they had taught me to do, such that nothing was lost. It was all there, and I could market to that, and I was always on top of it. And I still remember, you know, on a daily and monthly basis, pulling out my cards, you know, and working through them to figure out who were we going to work with today. Later, when we began to build an international company, I used the same system. Now, I was using technology by then, so I didn't go back to my box here. But using the same principles, I began to market the company across the country and manage those leads in the exact same manner, going into the permanent record, marketing to them regularly, but at the same time following up on a needed-to-follow-up basis to stay in touch.
Okay. What if you happen to be an agent and paperwork is not your forte? Doing administrative tasks is not something you do naturally.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Well, here's the problem you have is that in the sales business, and by the way, paperwork is not my forte. It is certainly not something that I enjoy or do well. So you're talking to the person that you just described. But you know what I say to that, all kidding aside, is you're just going to have to do it. I don't know where you think you have the option of not doing it. It is, if it were a job description, if you were actually handed a job description for real estate, at the top of it would say, generate leads, and the second one it would say is manage the database. Everything else flows from that.
Because
you don't do those two. I'm sorry.
Oh,
go ahead.
well, I was just going to say, Gary, I got into this business because I like people.
Sure.
I like dealing with property. I like real estate. I like being out there selling.
Sure.
I like being out there getting those listings.
Well, I bought my car because I like to drive it, but I have to maintain it, and I don't like doing that.
Can I hire an assistant?
You can do whatever you'd like. You can hire an assistant. I did. What happened is, and that's a great question, I did this on my own for 6 months when I got in the business. Somewhere around the 7th or 8th month, I'm not sure which one, I hired a part-time college student. She came into my office. I only hired her for 2 hours a day. That's all she just wanted spending money. She came in between around noon and 2 o'clock, and she managed the database after that. And her job was taking all of my prospecting and marketing methods to implement what needed to be done. She cut out the for sale by owner. She ran the expireds or withdrawns or taken off the markets. She generated leads with the moving company and things like that. And she cut out newlywed couple announcements, all the different places that you might go for leads. She put all that together and she generated the cards.
Oh, okay.
And what would happen is she would generate one card. And so every day that I came in, I would have a stack of cards. And so my job became to simply work the leads or the suspects, or right? Okay. Her job was I would come in each day, I would take a stack of cards, and I would give her a stack. Some of them would have a big X on it.
Okay.
Toss that. One would have, it's a permanent deal, and she needed to file it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
And so she would generate an additional card, permanent card. She would take my notes, and she'd see on the note card, it would either say, make a permanent card and file this here, or it would say, trash it or throw it away. So she was actually going to here, and then she was implementing what we would call 33 touch or 8 by. She was actually orchestrating that or overseeing that.
Okay.
It only took her a couple hours a day, and it was minimum wage. So it was not expensive at all to do that.
Okay.
I didn't do that, though, the first 7 or 8 months. I didn't have the money. I didn't do that.
Well, and if you're going to hire someone, you need to set up the system anyway.
I think you do. I think that this is not so complicated or tough that you can't do it for a short period of time to understand what needs to be done.
Okay.
Leverage is very important in this business. So as soon as you can get leverage, either through technology, by taking this to technology, or hiring an assistant, that's fantastic. And if you want to do that from day one, you go ahead.
Okay.
I don't think my career has gone too slow, by the way, by using paper for a while and doing it myself for 7 or 8 months before I went to better leverage tools. But if you want to do that from day one, you go to it. I think that'd be fantastic.
Now, I do have a question on a day-to-day basis about how much time do you spend managing your box, managing your database? 1 hour, 2 hours, what can I expect?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes?
You are going to spend time managing it. This is your business.
Okay.
When you're touching it, you're touching the relationships that you have with people.
Okay.
The issue is you're always in your box because you're always working. Again, you're on a computer, I'm going to assume at some point, but referring it as a box. You're always in that box on that 1 through 31. You're always in there with your white cards.
Okay.
If you want to use the analogy of paper here, you're always in it, Chris. It's not a function of is that an hour, 2 hours a day. You're always working from.
Okay.
So you're in this thing constantly. Okay. The permanent, well, that's just a function of what lead generation marketing program you set up in terms of, is this every week we market to them? Is it every 2 weeks? Is it every 3 weeks? Is it every month?
Okay.
Then you're in it again for that.
Okay.
You're in the box for 2 things, right?
Okay. Okay.
Your lead generation marketing program to the database,
Yep.
and then your ongoing daily, weekly, monthly relationship with everybody in it. If you only did the 33 touch or if you only generated a yellow card, let's just say, and so all you did was put people in a database and market to them every week or 2 or 3 weeks, you've only done part of it. Okay. And I see a lot of people do this. They simply create the permanent database, market to it, but they don't follow up. And one of the biggest complaints you hear about professional service individuals, not just in real estate, but just professional service individuals in general, they don't follow up.
Yeah.
I get a newsletter from them, but they never seem to pay attention as if I'm anybody unique.
Okay.
Right? I get their newsletter, I get their mailer, I get a generic voice message, maybe from a telemarketer or something. But they're never addressing me. Well, that's because they're not working off of that professional is not working off of a white card.
Sure.
That professional is simply working off of a yellow card.
So it's really mass marketing. There's nothing personal about it.
Well, the yellow card represents mass marketing, that's what 33 Touch and all this really is it's about direct response mass marketing, isn't it? Right.
Yeah.
It's taking a large database and literally, like we teach in our classes, is like dating these people over time. But the thing is, it's not really personal. We have to attach to it as well the white card, which is the ongoing, what do I need to do now? So essentially, if you think about, we can probably wrap this up by saying that if you think about contact management or database management is, you should always be moving the car. The game is always moving the car forward, right?
Yeah.
It's always, and even if you sell them a property or whatever, or sell their property, you don't throw away the card, the white card. The white card says, now what do I do?
Yep.
You would be amazed. People even moving out of city or out of state, keep them. Write down their new address. Call them up every 6 months. How long would that take?
Yeah. Not very long.
It doesn't take very long at all. And particularly with a company like Keller Williams, what's going to happen to you is, I had this happen yesterday, where a gentleman that does some property management repairs for us called me up. And he said, okay, I want to know what's going on. I just saw your signs, and he named his hometown city, which wasn't even in Texas. And he said, what is your firm doing there? You know? And I said, well, we have a very successful group of people that work in that city, and that's what we're doing there. Well, there's the connection. Well, what if his mother needed to sell her house?
Sure. There you go.
And he's helping her because of her age.
Yeah.
Might he not, if you keep talking to him or to her or to whoever, even if they've moved away, this analogy I actually just said the repairman was here, but let's say that he moved away, but you kept in touch and he saw those signs.
Okay.
Wouldn't he make the connection?
Oh yeah, it'll pay off.
They do make the connection. They do, and it works very well.
I liked what you say, this is how you date people. Think of it as dating your contacts, and this is the dating card.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the dating card. You just move it along. You move it along. This is the, now what should I do with them? Now what should I do with them? Right. That's right.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
Boy, I can't think of anything.
All right. Good.
I really appreciate you taking the time to explain this to me.
You're welcome.
I heard
Good
you
luck.
were the master.